with WUSA star goalie Brianna Scurry. Thanks, Brianna.
Nice job.
Brianna knows better than anybody that endurance means the difference between winning and losing. But for race car driver Lynn St. James, endurance can mean the difference between life and death. Every time she climbs into her car, she has to be mentally and physically prepared for anything. During a 2-hour race, her body will be tested to its limits, and her brain will be working as fast as her car.
Lynn St. James is a pioneer in auto racing. She's a 27-year veteran who has raced the Indy 500 7 times. To succeed in her sport, she's pushed herself to the edge of mental and physical endurance.
A good race car driver has to have good eye-hand coordination, good reflexes, good reaction time, good anticipatory reaction time, good eyesight, good footwork. You have to actually be fairly coordinated. So to become an extraordinary race car driver, you take those same ingredients and you have to then take them to the very best level that they can be.
She has all the other attributes, the reaction times and all of those things. But it's really the spirit, the drive, the tenacity, regardless of difficult situation, to stay after the prize. And the prize is to be the quickest one out there in whatever machine you happen to be driving. Male or female, doesn't matter.
It's an interesting set of ingredients as an athlete, because a lot of people wonder if we're athletes. We are athletes, but our skills are not as obviously demonstrated as a tennis player or a golfer or a football player. You know, and we don't have timeouts. We don't change sides. We don't get a break. So you have to have incredible ability to concentrate.
Most people think of drivers, and they don't always equate the word athletes with these animals in the race car. In fact, many people think, I could do that. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you look at the demands that are involved in high-performance racing, the physical demands, the mental demands, it's critical for performance to be able to put 100% of your concentration and your effort and actually deal with the physical demands of that race car situation. Physical fitness gives you the tools, the abilities to do precisely that task.
The physical demands of race car driving can be excruciating.
When people ask me what it's like to drive a race car, I say, get out an exercise bike, wear a warm-up suit, put a helmet on, take 2 10-pound weights and put them out in front of you with nothing to put your elbows, rest your elbows on. Get your heart rate up to about 85% of your max, and then sit there and sort of keep turning right and left with those weights. And have somebody with a bullpen hammer just kind of lightly going over your arms and your body, and even a little bit on your head, because there's a lot of vibration in the car. And you do that for about 2 hours, and that's what it's like to drive a race car.
Cardiovascular fitness is a particularly important physical quality for a racer. It has to do with that question of overall body stamina. High heat load, physical loading in the race car, the extended races. We've seen heart rate responses in drivers that over an hour and a half plus are in the neighborhood of 173 beats per minute. That's a lot like running a distance race.
You're constantly using your physical being and your mental being, which of course also elevates your heart rate. When you're concentrating and your mind is very busy, you'll find that your heart rate actually will go up. So all of those things combined, we have to be physically fit, cardiovascular fitness, we have to be strong, but we have to have enduring strength.
The physical demands of racing from a muscular point of view are really brought into motion because of the speed and the weight of the car. It's a simple matter of physics. The faster you go, the heavier the vehicle, the more the physical loads are imposed on the body to control that speed and that weight. We talk about G-forces, gravitational forces. In a high-speed turn, you can see G-forces that are 4 times the level of gravity. That means a head that weighs about 15 pounds and has a 3 to 4 pound helmet on it total of close to 20 pounds, that head now weighs 80 pounds when it's exposed to 4 times the load of gravity. If you think about that, and you think about lifting an 80-pound weight with your head, with your neck, 4 times for each corner, times 200 laps, that's 800 contractions lifting 80 pounds in a 3-hour period.
A driver must be in top physical shape not only to withstand the strain on the body, but to endure the stresses on the mind.
When we're physically tired, it's tough to stay focused. Mental stamina for a 3-hour race or a 3.5-hour race, if you're going 500 miles, becomes critical.
You know, when we're driving on the street, so many times you're thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner, what you're going to do at the next meeting. I mean, you're not concentrating. And when you're in a race car, you have to put 100% of your mental and physical being in that car with that car the entire time you're in the race.
If your loss of focus, if your loss of concentration leads to an error in judgment on the track at speed, the consequences in that situation aren't necessarily just a reduction in performance. They could mean a horrific accident where anything is possible.
The key to staying ahead of the pack and staying alive is mental endurance.
The mental fitness is more difficult to do, and it is something that you learn over time. I mean, I can remember the early races were 20 and 30 minutes long, and learning to concentrate for that amount of time, and now in the car anywhere from 2 to 4 hours.
Concentration is a skill. It's a skill that allows you to be absolutely performance-centered, centered on the task that you're doing, whether it's driving a race car, whether it's flying a jet, or whether it's dealing with a situation in school where you're trying to resolve a mathematical problem. We all face situations where concentration determines our performance ability. And a lot of drivers talk about brain fade, that characteristic where their mind goes off and has a coffee somewhere, and they forget to turn, or they forget to brake at precisely the right point. And at speed, that can lead to disastrous consequences.
Racing is an intense sport. It demands total concentration. So drivers must maintain a firm hold on their emotions.
In racing, you park your emotions. If you're angry at somebody, if somebody cuts you off, if somebody, causes you to make a mistake because you had to avoid their accident or whatever, or if you're angry at your parents or your wife or your husband or whatever, and you get in a race car and you allow emotion to affect that, it's a fate for death.
Because racing is so demanding, crashes are a reality for even the best drivers. Lynn's worst one came in 1986 when her car rolled and burned. Lynn suffered a herniated disc. If not for her relentless training, her injuries may have been much worse.
At the end of that, when it was all over and I was out of the car, I think what really the end result was it made me a better driver because all my safety gear worked.
If a driver starts to worry about the fear factor inside the race car, it's a time to park it.
In order to win races and avoid crashes, the driver must be completely in sync with the car.
The cues, the information that the driver is processing in a high-speed situation comes from all of the senses.
I feel the steering wheel, I feel where the shifter is, I feel where the pedals are, and it's kind of like you're getting, it's like this introduction. You're saying, hi, my name's Lindsay James, and I'm going to be driving you, and we're going to become buddies in this deal.
In fact, one of the most important senses is something we call kinesthetic response. They actually drive the car and feel the car through the seat of their pants and through their fingertips.
When I get in the race car, my space and my power is now extended to the entire car. And you drive by the seat of your pants. That's really what you're doing, because you feel everything what the car is doing through your butt, through the seat, and through your hands on the steering wheel. So you're really engaged in this sort of relationship with the car where you want to feel, you become one with the car, and you feel everything the car is doing all the time.
Lynn was the oldest starter at the 2000 Indianapolis 500, but unlike many other sports, age need not be a factor in successful racing.
In many sports, if you're an athlete, the physicality is what really dictates the level of